What would you do if your mother said, "You're not welcome at Christmas," while everyone gathered in a house you've quietly paid for month after month? Would you swallow it and show up anyway? Or step back and let the truth flip the lights off by itself? I'm Noor, and this is how I learned that some families keep what you give and throw away who you are, and what happens when you finally stop paying for a place you're not allowed to sit. That morning I opened my email expecting the usual holiday chatter, who's bringing what, which cousins are flying in, and what night we'd crowd into my mum's living room to pretend we hadn't avoided each other all year. The inbox was bare. I refreshed. Once. Twice. Then again out of habit, not hope. Nothing. I told myself, maybe they hadn't started planning, but the quiet felt arranged, not accidental. Later, I checked our shared family drive, the gift registry, playlists, and the ridiculous spreadsheet my sister, Sabrina, made every year ranking most useful dish. The folder wasn't just empty. It was gone. An old invite link gave me an instant access denied. I texted Sabrina, "Hey, did you take down the family folder?" No reply. 38 minutes later, Mum finally chimed in. "I figured you'd be busy this year. Don't stress about Christmas." No. "How are you?" No. "We missed you last year." Just a soft click of a lock you can hear if you've learned to listen. I didn't respond. I took a screenshot. That night, the apartment felt heavier than usual. I wasn't crying. I don't cry over things that are predictable anymore. Last year, I'd arrived late from a client meeting, with an armload of gifts and cookies, still warm from a 2 a.m. bake. No one looked up. Every chair was filled, so I ate at the kitchen counter with a paper plate and no napkin. "Look who finally decided to show," someone muttered. Laughter rolled. I didn't bother to track who started it. Back then I told myself, it wasn't on purpose. People get stressed. Plans shift. Maybe they forgot I don't eat pork, or that I always bring the deviled eggs no one acknowledges, but everyone finishes. But this time, the silence felt deliberate, like there'd been a vote I wasn't invited to. I opened my budgeting sheet and stared at the December line. $1,368.20. Mortgage autopay. The same entry posted, tidy, and on time, for 3 solid years. They cooked in that kitchen, blew out birthday candles in that sunroom I refinished, and posed for baby showers under the chandelier I picked. And not one of them thought I might want a chair at the table again. I closed the file and sat there. No yelling, no scene, just a quiet shift, like glass under pressure, finally finding the crack it's been growing for a while. If I'm not invited to be in the family, why am I the one paying for it? 5 days later, the verdict arrived as a voicemail. I had a grocery bag looped around my wrist, milk, celery, a bottle of wine I probably wouldn't open when my screen lit up. "Mom." I pressed play. Her tone was polite in the way a script is polite. "The family talked, and we think it might be easier if you don't come this year. It's nothing personal. We all agreed. Not, I feel. Not, this is hard. Just, we all agreed. Like minutes from a meeting." I set the bag down, took off my coat, and replayed it. Then I saved it. Later, I opened our old group thread, me, Sabrina, and 2 cousins, only to find the name had changed too. The real ones. Cute. My name wasn't on the member list. The holiday thread from last year was gone too. Not deleted exactly, just moved where I couldn't reach. Calendar invites were missing. The passive-aggressive checklists Sabrina used to send, "Please label your serving dish," had vanished. It wasn't forgetfulness. It was removal. Clean, careful, like dusting off a picture frame before sliding a different face inside. Around 10 p.m., I saw a comment under my cousin Piper's post. "So glad everyone could be there for the vote. Hard, but necessary." I tapped the photo. 12. Smiling faces around Mum's dining table. Sabrina, lifting a glass. Uncle Ray laughing. Mum at the head, her hand on Piper's shoulder, like a coronation. No empty seat. No place card for me. They'd met without me to decide about me. I closed the app, muted the noise, and powered down my phone. The next morning, I brushed my teeth, while replaying Mum's voicemail. We all agreed. "You're not welcome." No stumble, no pause. It sounded like, "Your position has been eliminated." I didn't call her back. Instead, I opened a blank document and started listing the facts. Mortgage from 2020 to present. Christmas groceries last year, $312. Oven repair, March 2021, $645. Utilities paid June through August. Down payment assistance, notarized July 2019. It wasn't anger, it was clarity. If they were going to erase me from the story, I'd keep the receipts. Around lunch, Sabrina finally texted. Short, precise. You always made things tense. Honestly, it's better this way. Then the footnote she'd been waiting years to send. You were never good at being part of this family. I didn't reply. I screenshotted it and filed it with everything else. You don't have to shout to erase someone. Whispered edits work just as well. That evening, a photo memory surfaced. 3 years ago, the Christmas gifts I'd overnighted from Raleigh to Mum's place in Asheville. I'd worked late to afford them a bracelet Sabrina admired in May, a scarf in Mum's favourite shade from her teaching photos. In the pictures posted that morning, the caption read, "From all of us," and everyone clapped. I wasn't there. I wasn't mentioned. My gifts had been folded into the group. No one corrected it. Not even Mom. That old splinter pressed forward again. Not new, just impossible to ignore. I looked out at a neighbour across the street, finishing white and gold lights, the classic kind Mum always loved, and realised I hadn't even bothered with a wreath. Then, against my better judgment, I opened Mum's Facebook page. 12 chairs, candles, Piper with a tray of rolls, grateful for everyone who made this family whole again. Whole. That word hit harder than any voicemail. There wasn't a missing name on those place cards. In Sabrina's glitter pen. I wasn't expected. Because I wasn't wanted. I cancelled my PTO. Cancelled the flight I'd booked. Just in case. Non-refundable. But it didn't matter. This wasn't a stunt. It was a decision. They wanted a Christmas without me. They'd have it. The next day, I made a proper breakfast, eggs, sourdough, orange slices, and opened my banking app. The mortgage autopay was set to hit in 3 days. Not because I couldn't afford it, but because a harder question finally landed. Why was I still funding a life I wasn't allowed to live in? Exclusion starts small forgotten texts, rearranged plans, missed birthdays you pretend weren't targeted. Give it time, and it grows roots. One morning you wake up and realize they never saw you in the first place. That night, I scrolled through the payment history, 36 transactions, everyone labeled Crane June Property, Asheville, North Carolina. They smiled in that house and called it ours. But I kept the heat running. It wasn't just money. It was every quiet. Don't worry. I got it. No one bothered to remember. In a password-protected folder, I found the scanned deed. Owner, Lydia Crane. I'd co-signed so she could qualify. Temporary, she promised. Once we're stable, we'll add you. That was a casual conversation over frozen peas 3 years ago. The paperwork didn't lie. My name wasn't on the title. I was just the one paying. It wasn't just exclusion from Christmas. It was used systematic, smiling, and quiet. Around 9, an email popped in forwarded by an aunt, probably by accident. The photo was my mother's kitchen, my backsplash, the custom chairs, the granite I'd driven 4 hours to pick up, because Mum said the local options looked cheap. 12 faces, full table, in Mum's home, where she raised us all. My chest didn't ache, but something buzzed behind my eyes. I checked my bank tab, paused the mortgage autopay, and sat back. No manifesto, no warning, just an exit plan folder on my desktop, and the calm that comes when your yes finally means yes, and your no is simple. 2 days later, the 21st of December, I logged in and cancelled the mortgage autopay for good. I expected a ping. Hey, did something happen? From someone. Nothing. Not from Mum. Not from Sabrina. Not from the cousins who still listed me as their emergency contact when rent ran late. If they noticed, they didn't say. That told me everything. I was never essential. I was background noise, a tab open on someone else's screen they assumed would run forever. The next morning, while my tea steeped, I opened every utility account. Electric, gas, internet, insurance, all still in my name. Because years ago Mum said, just until I can breathe a little. That was 4 birthdays ago. I cancelled them one by one, documenting confirmation numbers, forwarding copies to a backup inbox. It wasn't petty. It was clean. They could call the companies and explain why the accounts were never moved. Let them discover the lights weren't magic. Christmas Eve arrived quietly. I made soup for myself and wrapped a present for my neighbor's kid who brings my mail up when it rains. At 5:30, my phone buzzed, with a group text I hadn't been part of in weeks. Someone must have added me by mistake. Power just went out mid-potluck. Mum is yelling. Everything's black. I searched my email for account closed. There it was. Service to the Asheville property, scheduled to end at 6 p.m. On the 24th of December. It was 6:14. Darkness on time. I didn't reply. I whispered to the quiet. They thought comfort was free. An hour later. Noor, did you do this? The answer didn't need words. The second that house blinked off, they knew. Sabrina shouting. Lydia on hold with customer service, trying to manufacture outrage. What do you mean the account's inactive? Ma'am, you're not listed as primary. Candles lit. Flashlights hunted. Guests milling in the kitchen I remodeled. Maybe now they'd remember who picked that backsplash. I didn't check social. I didn't expect an apology. We rewrite the story here and claim good intentions. I just opened my digital planner and typed, the 24th of December, first Christmas. Not subsidizing betrayal. One more cup of tea. A steady night. And silence that finally didn't sting. Around 10:20, my cousin Eli texted, Hey, did something happen? Aunt Lydia is losing it. I could have said, ask who kept the lights on for 3 years. But I put my phone down and let the dark stay a little longer. I wasn't punishing them. I was choosing me. The next morning, a coworker sent me a link from the local paper. Lydia Crane hosts annual charity potluck, celebrating holiday generosity in Asheville. The photo showed Lydia with Sabrina, standing under my chandelier, the one they called too modern, until it became a perfect backdrop. No mention of me. The caption thanked the Crane family for opening their beautiful home. I let out a short, disbelieving laugh. Not just a mission. Performance. That afternoon, my cousin Mina messaged privately. I need to show you something. I didn't agree with what they did. I recorded it. I pressed play. Sabrina's voice first, clipped and cool. She's cold. Everything she does is calculated. Like she wants applause for being decent. Lydia followed. She's not really family. She's convenient. Laughter. Then my cousin Colin, smooth as always. Don't stir the pot. Keep her name on. The papers. It's clean. No need to rock the boat. No one objected. They just moved on. Hearing it was different than suspecting it. Convenient. That word lands like a verdict. I didn't sleep. I drafted a quiet package. I uploaded the audio to a clean drive. I prepared a document titled, Statement of Financial Support, 2019 present. Mortgage. Taxes. Renovations. Utilities. Dates. Amounts. Proofs. I sent it to 3 places. Colin's manager at the bank, the charity's board contact, listed under the potluck article, and a local editor I'd worked with years ago on a fundraiser. No subject line that said revenge, just facts that didn't bend. By evening, the ripples arrived. The charity page updated. Lydia's name disappeared from host credits. Mina texted, They're scrambling. Sabrina called me a traitor. Mum's panicked. Colin's on leave while they look into it. I sipped my tea and wrote back, I didn't declare war. I declared independence. Soon an email hit my inbox. Mortgage inquiry urgent. I didn't open it right away. Instead, I pulled out a box of old cards and photos that once said, To the best daughter, and couldn't have done it without you. I tore the cards in half, not in rage, but to correct the headline. The next morning, I typed one final email, steady and brief. I've been removed from the family, so I've removed myself from the financials. The house no longer concerns me. I attached a PDF detailing every dollar, mortgage, utilities, insurance, Even the scratchy guest towels Lydia replaced, with the exact brand I'd already bought. Subject line: exit, with receipts. 24 minutes later, my phone lit up. Sabrina, you're destroying everything Mom built. I actually laughed. I hadn't destroyed anything. I'd simply unplugged the cord they never acknowledged I was holding. Lydia wrote, "How could you humiliate me? We're still your family." Still. As if the gap between who they were and who they pretended to be could be skipped with a word. Colin never called. HR likely had him busy with his own quote. Keep her on the papers. Don't rock the boat. The charity issued a careful statement about correcting donor recognition. No names. No need. That evening I walked 2 blocks to see Mrs. Porter, Mum's neighbour for over a decade, who'd always waved kindly and kept her thoughts to herself. She opened the door before I knocked, handed me oatmeal cookies, and said, "I saw the news, and figured you could use someone who isn't surprised." On her porch swing, with a quilt over our knees, she said, "I've watched your mother for 17 years. You were the strong one. She couldn't shape you, so she cut around you." I whispered. "She almost succeeded. Mrs. Porter smiled like someone who knows what winning really means. "She didn't," she said. Back home, I pulled the stack of photos that were supposed to prove I belonged group shots from birthdays I wasn't really part of. Holiday cards I printed that listed everyone's name but mine. I didn't burn them. I didn't stage anything. I threw them out. No drama. They just didn't matter now. I lit a single candle in my kitchen. Not for mood, but to remind myself, I can make light too. My phone buzzed. Mina again. "Grandma asked if you're okay. Should I tell the truth?" I typed, "Tell her I'm more than okay. Tell her I'm finally visible." I didn't wait for a reply. The silence that followed wasn't empty. It felt like space. The next morning, I woke up early, with no plans to chase, and no guilt clawing at my ribs. I made coffee, put on a sweater, and drove to the bank. The lobby was half empty. "I need to transfer responsibility for a loan I co-signed," I told the teller. She blinked. "Would you like to schedule a meeting with a loan officer?" "No," I said. "Just process the transfer." She hesitated. "This removes your name and assigns all liability to Lydia Crane. She's the owner of record," I said, sliding the notarized form I'd prepared last week. "She'll handle it from now on. You understand you're waiving any rights to the asset?" "I understand," I said, and I meant it more than I've ever meant anything. I signed, handed over the documents, and walked out. No music, no applause, just the jingle of the door, and a cold wind that felt honest. I didn't post about it. I didn't text. I went home and did something radical in its simplicity. I lived. I cooked real breakfast, bacon, toast, eggs over medium, and curled up with the book I'd been avoiding since fall. With no twinkling lights, or stockings, or pine needles to sweep, I felt no absence. I felt release. Snow flurried, like powdered sugar, at the edges of my window. I opened the blinds and let the quiet in. No guilt-tripped requests, no last-minute errands, no performance, just my space, my rules, my name on the lease. A week later, a certified letter landed at the house, with grey shutters I once tried to protect. Sabrina opened it and read the change of responsibility. Lydia sat still. "She really did it," Sabrina said. Lydia had nothing to say. For once, there wasn't anyone else to blame. I hadn't slammed doors or made speeches. I'd simply stepped aside and left the weight where it belonged. Mina texted again. "They're asking if you're coming back next year," I typed. "They should worry more about how they'll keep the lights on. No smiley, no soften. Some truths don't need decoration." January stretched slow. I slept with the window cracked. I cooked meals that smelled like my childhood, the ones we never made at Mum's table, unless someone could turn it into a competition. I updated my records, changed my mailing address, listed Mina as my emergency contact, wrote, "Signed off loan," on the corner of my wall calendar. 1 year free. No balloons. Just a private nod. On the first clear day of the month, I walked the trail behind my building. The air bit at my throat and straightened my lungs. At the top of the hill, I looked out across the frozen creek and understood something plain. Some houses you leave, some you outgrow. Either way, they stop feeling like home the moment you stop asking to be let back in. Leaving that house wasn't the hard part. Learning to live in peace, without seeking permission, that took practice. I used to think loyalty meant silence. Give enough, pay long enough, love hard enough, and they'll see you. They didn't. Maybe they never will. But I learned something worth more than approval. You don't need a seat at someone else's table to know your value. You can build your own and serve peace, not pain. If you've been the one holding things together while being told you're the problem, hear me clearly. You're not difficult. You're done being diminished. Sometimes stepping away isn't quitting. It's coming home to yourself. I'd love to hear from you. Have you walked away from a family, friend group, or community that made you feel small? What helped you choose peace over proving yourself? Drop your story in the comments. If this resonated, type 1. Or tell me where you're watching from. I read every message. And if it didn't quite land, say why. I'm here to listen the way I once wished someone had listened to me. If this story meant something to you, subscribe. There's more ahead, more stories that heal, more voices that rise, and more truth we're finally ready to tell. This isn't goodbye. It's the start of you choosing.